are you people doing today? My name is Azura Zainal, your host, and welcome to the dynamic talk show brought to you by Heriot-Watt University, Malaysia. Now, today we're going to be talking about something very interesting. It's all about supporting student success, the advantages of responsive blended learning. Now, we all know that the COVID-19 has made our lives almost miserable. It has done so much disruptions, especially, or should I say more so to students' lives, because they are unable to continue their studies. And for those who have actually made plans to travel abroad, they have to put everything on hold. So that's quite a bummer, right? So as the first mechanic institute in the world and among the first in the UK accepting or to admit women, Heriot-Watt University is no stranger to pioneering education landscape. So to address this issue and the challenges brought about by the pandemic, they have come up with a very unique solution or method, which is the blended responsive learning. All right, so to talk more on this, we have three very special guests from Heriot-Watt UK, Dubai, and Malaysia campuses respectively, and they are none other than, get ready people, it is, let me introduce you the first person, Professor Martha Caddell, Director of Learning and Teaching at Heriot-Watt University UK. Next up, we have Professor Tadhg S, Associate Head of the School of Engineering and Physical Sciences at Heriot-Watt University, Dubai. And we also have Professor Dennis Wong, Deputy Provost of Heriot-Watt University, Malaysia. How are you people doing? Everyone's doing great?
All well.
Okay. Very well, thank you.
Okay, so today is going to be really awesome because we're going to be talking about more on how the students are going to adapt themselves, in the university, in the campus, how they can actually have what they can do to actually be better at what they're doing right now. So we're going to be talking about the RBL, responsive blended learning. So I'm going to go right into it. So this one, maybe not many know that in Malaysia, the higher education learning face-to-face lectures are not allowed until next year. So how are things in Dubai and in the UK? Maybe we could start with Martha. Maybe you can tell us what's the situation and the scenery like in the higher education there.
Well, across the UK, generally, we're beginning to see some things open up a little bit more. So we're now able to go out and travel a little bit further from our houses. But for universities, we're still seeing quite a lot of restrictions on what we can do. So we're beginning to start thinking about opening our research labs, and we would hope to have some of our teaching spaces open for some students in the new academic year. But there'll still be quite considerable restrictions. So we'll be doing that in a really phased way and making sure everything's done step by step and as safely as possible for people returning to campus.
Wow, that's pretty much, I'm sure all of them are very excited because now that it's slowly opening up, they can finally go back to school and go back to university and really start learning properly. I mean, it's not that they're not learning properly at home or anywhere they are, but the feeling of going to point A, from point A to point B is really something. So what about?
Yeah, but I think most students will still be studying at a distance for quite a large part of the coming year.
Okay, so what about the education, the higher education in Dubai?
So in Dubai, things are opening up quite quickly now. We probably locked down a little bit earlier than Malaysia and the UK. And most, amenities and social things are beginning to open here, obviously, with social distancing. We fully expect from September to have our campus open to students. We will obviously be taking the correct precautions to make sure that it's a safe environment, but we look forward to welcoming our students back to campus, but also obviously providing for them still online should they so wish. And that's part of what we're discussing today with the provision of responsive blended learning.
Wonderful. Now, maybe Professor Dennis, or shall I say Dennis, would like to elaborate more on the situation here in Malaysia.
Sure, Azura, just as you pointed out just now, the government initially has issued a notice of no face-to-face learning until the end of this year. However, the campus has reopened. I'm now sitting in the lab, as you can see, and preparing for the new semester to begin. we're also seeing that just like in Dubai, things are changing rapidly. Cinemas just opened, and yesterday I just passed by and lots of people queuing up for cinema. So we are also expecting that the government may change the position to allow more face-to-face teaching in the coming months, certainly by September. So we are quite hopeful with that. And according to a media release from the defense minister, we might be talking about a new SOP coming to our landscape very soon as well here in Malaysia.
Okay, this is a question that I'm actually quite curious to ask as well. So if the government and everyone is actually allowing students to come back to the campuses, but what if the students themselves are not comfortable coming into the campuses? Are they going to be, maybe a point gets deducted, or will there be some leeway that they are also open to the, to the fact that they want to be studying from a distance instead? Is there a choice?
So I think that's why we've adopted responsive blended learning, because it allows us to recognise that it's not just about campuses making a decision whether they're open or not, but whether our students or our staff are able to return to campus. We recognise our students come to us from so many different countries across the globe, and so different travel restrictions will be in place, different quarantine restrictions will be in place, and different individual contexts will be very, very real for students. So responsive blended learning allows students to have that flexibility, and as Tadhg was saying, there's a huge element of choice in that too. So to put your own health, to put your own family, to put your own well-being at the heart of your decisions that you make about your studies.
Right. So maybe, Martha, you can explain to us and elaborate even further about RBL, responsive blended learning. Like, when was it incepted, and is this how does this inspire learning for students?
Yeah, so it's a very pragmatic approach to the current situation, and it will allow us to make the very best use of online learning and our campus spaces as they begin to open up around the globe. So wherever our students are able to join us from, they'll be able to interact with their peers, with their course teams, and to collaborate in their learning. So this isn't about accessing your materials on your laptop and sitting on your own at home and working on them, but it's about making sure you connect with students across the globe, make sure you're connecting with your course teams and collaborating, and really getting involved in some exciting learning opportunities all the way through your studies. So when you can come back to campus, you'll still be working with the same people that you had been interacting with online. You've already built that community, you're part of that same peer group as you go through your studies. So it's a way of making sure your studies are as little impacted as possible, as least disruption as possible, given the context that we're working in.
So is this like a short-term thing, or do you see it happening for a long-term time, that it's going to continue on? So it's not just made for the pandemic.
Yeah, so it's we've had to move very rapidly to this blend of online and on-campus teaching, but so much of it is what we were wanting to do anyway. When you see how we're working across all of our global course teams, working across all of our campuses, students have access to peer groups across the globe. That's something we wanted to aspire to anyway, and we've managed to accelerate that. We wanted to make best use of all the online, the opportunities of online learning. And again, this has given us the opportunity to really speed things up. So while we may want to slow the pace and to have some elements of the COVID-19 pandemic pass us by, or to settle back, there are things that we will absolutely want to hang on to and that will be really positive for our students.
Yeah, it's just that the good thing that the pandemic happened, and the good side of it is that it kind of pushes us to actually get into the things that we've been putting on hold for a very long time. So that's a good thing, I guess, because I'm the kind of person who likes to look at the cup half full instead of half empty. Always look at the bright side of things, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
The next question, this is for Tadhg. Maybe you can share with us, how does Heriot-Watt define and support student success? And could you show or share with us how this model does that?
Yeah, good question. I mean, we have our graduate attributes in Heriot-Watt, certain things that we want all our students to be able to achieve, and certain things that they offer to society. It's really important that we stay very focused on those in our curriculum and in our new way of doing things. I think the first thing to look at, though, is to recognize that success means different things to different people. And it's about working with students and trying to bring from them what they want to contribute, how they want to, have a successful career or contribute well to society. And I think we do that well, through our personal tutor system from first year to fourth year. One thing I always like to emphasize in a Heriot-Watt graduate is confidence. They tend to go out into society as very confident, able to contribute immediately. They're ready for the working environment. And I think that also contributes to their well-being, because you're not just focusing on, the scientific part or the mathematics or whatever particular course they're on, but you're working on their life skills as well. We talk about them being lifelong learners. How do you organize your time? How do you contribute? How do you work well in your future career? So I think it's the fact that we're quite adaptable, that flexible, and in tune with individual students. So we see them definitely as individuals, and they have so much choice in how they do things that the whole curriculum is set up to support them to be successful graduates.
So students actually shouldn't worry about anything then, because like you said earlier, it's all about working together with the students, so they can actually dictate and decide how they want to do or proceed from here on forth. Okay, so I'm very sure that, at this point of time, I think what parents and students are most concerned about is about how, if and how they can actually complete their studies, according to schedule. Because we feel that when you're doing this, maybe some people are not in schedule, they're not in line in certain topics or certain subjects. So how does this actually ensure that the students will, if graduate on time or not? So
Yeah,
maybe
the first thing, obviously,
Go ahead, Tadhg.
Sorry, the first thing I think is definitely not to worry. All right, this is a collaboration. The university is as invested in a student's success as the student is. I mean, we want to see really successful graduates from Heriot-Watt University. So, and that's our main priority. That's what we're set up to do. And so we're always working with students. That's really important to us. I think there's obviously going to be apprehension about how we approach this, and we're thinking perhaps quite linearly in step by step, and making sure we're keeping pace with things. Education perhaps isn't exactly like that. It is about reaching learning outcomes, but you can do that in very many different ways. I think RBL is going to probably shine a light on that new way of thinking, that some people will find certain things quite simple, and they'll have reached those learning outcomes quite quickly and quite early, and the curriculum won't delay them. Others, and for different aspects, and the challenge is where the learning happens. So I think that's quite an exciting place to be. And a challenge alone is, as I said, it's good, but don't forget, the university is here to support you to rise to that challenge. And that's what I find quite gratifying in my job.
So Dennis, maybe you could help explain further about what about those who have already had plans to actually study abroad? What about their situation? How are they going to be able to graduate in time? Dennis.
Right. So being Heriot University is very special in this way that we are positioned as a global university. So for example, if you are now in Dubai but you're thinking about coming to Malaysia or vice versa, or going to Edinburgh, you can actually start at the local campus. And then when the situation of pandemic eases, you then apply for transfer to another campus. We can do that because there's only, with RBL, we are teaching as a global cohort. So you are a student of the university. You are not really a student of Malaysia campus or Dubai campus in particular. But once you enroll in your class, you see your peer from Dubai campus, from Malaysia campus, and from Edinburgh campus. And We have specific learning and teaching activities that is aligned to the specific time zone for practical and pragmatic reason. But then in terms of teaching delivery, the central digital core is actually seamlessly, it's just identical for you at any campuses. Depending on the local campus situation, there might be activities that are conducted differently, but they all we are all here to make sure that no student is being shortchanged because of their locality. The assessment will be fair to make sure that it's accessible by all students on all campuses. So if you're thinking about going on board, Heriot-Watt will be a good place to start with, because it then broaden your options in transferring between different countries, campuses, and locations.
So what about the other advantages with a responsive blended learning approach? How is this different from what other universities are doing? Dennis.
Right. Yeah,
Or
sure.
Martha?
Blended learning itself is not a new thing. I mean, lots of universities will come to blended learning as a learning and teaching pedagogy for this coming semester. However, our approach here really put the staff and students' well-being at the heart, at the center of this delivery. The global team, myself, for example, myself and my course team in Edinburgh, Dubai, we meet regularly to discuss how are we going to deliver this course of us in a very pragmatic way, like Martha has just said earlier on, that even if students are now stranded in China, they are actually going to Edinburgh, but now because they are staying back in China, they are actually joining my time zone activities as opposed to Edinburgh's activities, because that makes sense for them not to wake up in the middle of the night trying to catch a class in Edinburgh. You can actually wake up 9 o'clock in the morning, join the Malaysian class online, or if they prefer, or if the travel allowed, they can actually start with Malaysia campus, and when the situation eases, the borders reopen, they can then transfer to Edinburgh campus. So really, the core of our BL is putting people first, our staff and our students, and the family and their health and safety first before we talk about the actual activities.
That is wonderful. Martha, I noticed just now you wanted to add something as well. Maybe you could add up to whatever Dennis has said.
Absolutely. So I think what Dennis is saying is absolutely the key is how we put the well-being of staff and students at the heart of this. And I think we're seeing that particularly through the extended induction that we're offering for students this academic year. So recognizing that students coming new to study at Heriot-Watt or students coming back to study with us have had really disrupted learning over the last 6 months. They've seen their classes move rapidly online. They've had school exams cancelled, university exams have changed. They've not been with their peers for the last 6 months. So we're making sure that they have a really comprehensive welcome back to Heriot-Watt, or welcome to Heriot-Watt. So they know, find ways of getting to know their friends, the people they'll be studying with, whether they're on campus or whether they're online. They get that opportunity to meet up and have some social interaction as well as the learning and teaching interactions, and then get to learn the skills that they'll need for responsive blended learning, getting to understand what it would mean to plan your studies when you've got this new way of learning, how to make sure you can manage your study space when you might be competing with your family and friends for broadband usage in your house. So some really practical support that we want to offer people as they come back to study in the new academic year.
Like all of you have been saying from the start of this session, it's all about family. It's all about the student. It's all about the people first. Putting them at the core of everything that you do is very important. So that is responsive blended learning at Heriot-Watt universities. So we're going to take a short break for now. So for those of you who just joined us, welcome again to WhatsApp World. We're going to be right back very, very soon. So be sure to come back and join us, okay?
I chose to go to Dubai. It was just a bit of a dream and a bit surreal to be able to go there for 3 months and study.
I've always wanted to pursue my studies in the Europe country, especially in the UK. I was pretty scared before I came. I expected it to be really cold, and really depressing. It was the total opposite of it, and I really enjoyed my time here.
There are no other universities offering this, and I took it and never looked back. It's been awesome. Anyone thinking about doing Go Global, I would say go for it. You're probably never going to have the chance to get to study in Edinburgh, Dubai or Malaysia. Anyone considering going to Heriot-Watt should definitely, if they can, go to all 3 campuses, because that would make you a really well-rounded student.
Welcome back, everyone, to What's Up World with me, Azura Zainal, and our very special guests from the UK, Dubai, and Malaysia. We have Martha, Tadhg, and Dennis. So today we've been talking about supporting student success, the advantages of responsive blended learning, where we all know that at Heriot-Watt University, it's all about putting you first, putting the people, the students, the family, the health above everything. Because at the end of the day, that is the most important thing that everyone should think about. Now, Martha, maybe you can share with us, how long has the responsive blended learning been implemented? And how are the students' response to it? Are they liking it, or do you get feedback coming from the students saying that, it's not working for them? And is this different for every campuses, like in the UK, Malaysia, and Dubai?
So we're only just introducing responsive blended learning now, but we have over the last few months been really helping communicate with our students and support their learning since the lockdowns began. So we've had this kind of phased approach. So in March, we had this emergency shutdown in Dubai and then across our other campuses. And we had to move really speedily to support our students at a distance, to adapt to new ways of working in an online space. And we learned a lot from that. We found that actually our students were able to engage, that our staff were able to very quickly adapt and develop exciting materials and resources for students to engage with. And we've learned a lot from that. And we've now had a little bit more time to plan for the next academic year and work as global course teams to pull together all of our resources and our expertise to think a little bit more about how we're going to make sure all of our interactions are collaborative, inspiring, and really get students to work together, whether they're on campus or at a distance. And so we've been able to build on that emergency response and now have a much more planned approach to responsive blended learning, so that we can make sure that across the academic year, students have a range of activities to engage in, whether they are live events or the asynchronous events that students can fit around their own life and work balance, their study balance, making sure that they can fit their studies around everything else that they have to cope with at the current time. So responsive blended learning we're implementing now, and we're moving forward with it in a much more phased and planned way. Students seem to be engaging very well in the online space and making the most of those interactions, making sure that they've got those connections with their course teams and with their peers. So we're really pleased to see how students have coped in the emergency situation, and we hope that they'll be able to capitalise on that even more as we go into this more planned and more structured approach to responsive blended learning.
That's wonderful. Now, Tadhg, maybe you can share with us, what else can students expect from the university in addressing the pandemic, COVID-19? How about beyond the pandemic? How's that going to happen, even after the lockdowns? How will Heriot-Watt University new norm be like?
Well, to a certain extent, I hope that the new norm will be getting back to the normality. And within time, we're quite resilient, aren't we? We're really keen to get back to our traditional ways of doing things and enjoying socializing on our campuses, no matter where those are. I think, though, we'll probably try to hold on to some of the really good practice that we have been, involved in over the past weeks and months. And I think that's communicating better across our campuses. I think we work much better now, both staff and students. We're much more aware that we're part of Heriot-Watt Global and not just necessarily campus specific. I'm sure we'll try to hold on to a lot of that good practice. Obviously, on a very practical level, our infrastructure will change over the next semester and year, where we're putting in a lot of precautionary infrastructure to make sure that we can reduce any infection where it may be, but also just making sure that the place is as safe as possible for staff and students. So those are practical things, but I think in time we will hopefully have this more as a memory and just and get back to a normal kind of social campus-based university.
Memory is always good to have. We can always look back to say that, hey, we went through all this and now we're a pro at it. So, Dennis, maybe you can share with us the new norm in Malaysia campus. What's it like? I mean, you were just telling us that nobody's there and it's clean. Clean is always good.
Certainly, Azura. In Malaysia campus, I mean, we had the privilege actually to be reopened ahead of other campuses. So we have been putting in safe distancing measures. So all around me here is actually marked with boxes where you can sit, where you are not allowed to sit. In all the lecture theaters, we have already put in crosses on the part that nobody should be sitting on. And we are also, like Tadhg said, putting a lot of infrastructure upgrade, for example, additional purchases of laptops to support staff, tablets to help staff to deliver more efficiently and more effectively on campus, and also maybe from their home if they can't come in on campus on that particular day. So all these are again, trying to maximize students' learning experience in this kind of new norm. And we are also making sure that we are complying with the government's standard operating procedures. And we always keep ourselves up to date, as you know, that every few weeks, the government, based on the new insight that they found, they may have a new recommendation. So we make sure that we are always adhering to the latest instruction from the government.
That's true. All right. And then next, final question that I have for everybody, but it's been quite a fun discussion because I'm sure there are a lot of people who have many questions, but don't worry. If you have any questions, you can always put it on our Facebook comment page right there, okay? But for this time round, to Martha, Tadhg, and Dennis as well, maybe you have some tips and advice that you can give to the academics and of course students trying to juggle life and study during these trying times. Okay, we can begin with Martha.
Yeah, so two top tips, I guess. One is to put your well-being first. And it's really quite challenging if you're studying at home or you're working at home. So to actually make sure that you put some boundaries, that you stop studying, that you stop working and you go off and you do something else. Make sure you still get out and have some fun. Engage in the sports that you want to be engaging. Get away from your desk, do something else. So make sure that you plan your day and you don't end up studying all the hours of the day or working all the hours of the day. But also make sure that you make the most of your interaction at university beyond your studies. So whether you're on campus or studying at a distance, you can still engage with societies, you can still engage with the extracurricular activities. And that's what's really important. We don't just go to university to learn, we go to university to make friends, to explore the world beyond our own town, our own city, our own country. So take the advantage of being in part of that wider Heriot-Watt community, get involved and make the most of that wider opportunity, whether you're staff or student, to make sure that you can engage with that wider community.
Tadhg, what's your advice and tips for both academics and students?
Well, I guess I just want to be quite positive about it. I think engineers who I represent here, I guess, are about problem solving. And this is, to a certain extent, a challenge or problem that we'll be keen to address. And we also like to bring in creativity and innovation to everything that we do. So I'd urge staff and students to do that. I would also suggest that people should really try to enjoy their studies. I mean, you've probably decided to do a discipline that you have an interest in. Indulge yourself a little bit in that and enjoy. Try to tease out what you like about it. Do more of that and enjoy it. And you will shape the career that you want from it. So this is a new norm. This is a new way of doing things at the moment. Think about all those extra skills that you're perhaps getting. How better we are at communicating. The fact that we are in a global university means that we have access to or insight into different cultures, different nationalities, different time zones, traditions, different ways of working. And if we're going to work in that environment post-COVID as well as post-studies, this is a great experience to put on your CV as much as anything else, and to hold on to those other learning outcomes that perhaps were not originally intended for.
Thank you for that. And of course, last but not least, Dennis, what are your top tips and advice?
Well, I think going last, meaning that I've run out of options or suggestions. But
It's okay. This is a part where they can actually repeat and people can actually absorb everything better.
No, I'm actually going to advise every one of us, academic staff or students, maybe at this trying time, as you said, it's a good opportunity to revisit our purpose and our impact. What impact do we want to bring to the society, to the people around us? And once you find that impact or the purpose that you are here for, then maybe use that to fuel your life, your enthusiasm, and use that to make sure that you are here to do. If you are here to learn, then learn well. If you are here to teach, then teach to the best that you can. So that's my a word of advice, if you like. Yeah.
Thank you so much to everybody. Thank you, Professor Wong, Professor Caddell, and Professor O'Donovan for your time and for sharing with us all these insights about RBL, Responsive Blended Learning. It's been very, very positive. And as we all know, that at the end of the day, at Heriot-Watt University, it's all about the students. It's all about their family. It's all about the health. They come first no matter what. And of course, with RBL, it allows flexibility and the element of choice for the student themselves and whether how they want to do things. And of course, I would also like to add that at the campuses themselves, Heriot-Watt University has taken the SOPs very, very seriously, where, like you said, Dennis, that you already have boxes lined up for the students to come whenever they come into the campuses and they start studying at the campuses themselves. And of course, having to purchase new laptops and devices for the students and of course the staff at the university is all very helpful. So I'm very sure students and parents are relieved and happy to know that the university is taking all these little things into action and into mind as well, that the students are their number one priority. So thank you so much, Martha, again, Tadhg, and Dennis for your time. So for the students and parents, be rest assured that there is nothing stopping you from continuing your study, not even COVID-19, because everything has been set in place. So there's no more excuse. Everybody can continue on learning and not to worry about whether you're going to graduate in time or not, because of this special and unique method, which is the responsive blended learning. Thank you once again. It has been very enlightening, and I'm very, very happy and honored to be talking to all three of you. Have a great and wonderful day. So next week, we'll be talking about something even more exciting. Of course, it's going to be relevant to you. So be sure to join us again on What's Up World with me, Azura. So until then, stay safe and keep on studying. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.